Welcome to another edition of the Popcast podcast. I'm John CROC from ActionFigureKing.com, and this is my co-host.
This is Esteban from Esteban TV.
What are we discussing tonight, Esteban?
Oh, yes, Gotham. The big thing that came out this week, Gotham.
Yep. The premiere was on, Monday night, right?
Yeah, Monday night. Which was kind of bad for me because I like watching my football games.
Yeah.
But I couldn't miss this, so I definitely had to miss a little bit of football for this.
All right. Well, there is a thing called a DVR.
Oh, but see, I don't have those things.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
Nah, I'm caveman.
All right. So, I just want to start off by saying, I know, when this show was announced like a year or so ago, and you probably heard the same stuff, a lot of backlash right away, people just saying that what a piece of crap, this is a stupid idea, and the usual thing, because it's going to take place where Bruce Wayne is a boy and not in the normal Batman universe, and that it's going to focus primarily on Jim Gordon.
Yeah.
So you heard similar stuff, correct?
I heard the same thing. Even during the premiere, and I read reviews on people. People were upset that it wasn't focused on Bruce Wayne growing up.
Right.
But like I said, I think everyone has it backwards, that it's supposed to be Jim Gordon.
Yeah, I mean,
and him trying to clean up the city.
Right, and there's we'll get into that. For me, this is I have to say a smart marketing move. When I saw the trailer a few months ago, I thought it looked really good. Trailers don't always give you a true view of what you're about to watch, but
yeah.
I thought from a marketing standpoint is what you have to do, because look, they're still trying to sell Batman in the movie theaters. You don't want to take your main product now and put it onto TV.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, so they're going to take some version of Batman. So they're giving you a different era in his life. And I think what's good here is that it opens up the potential to tell a lot of stories without interfering with, because these people who complain, and I'm one of them, I'm certainly guilty of this type of thing. But when you take it outside of the normal universe, you kind of close the door on the ability for a lot of people to complain, because it's not in the normal continuity. So it opens up a lot of new storylines.
Well, I'm actually the opposite. I actually was very excited for this to come out.
Yeah.
I'm a type of person, I like exploring things that weren't explored before.
Right.
We always seen Batman fighting crime. That's all we've seen in the movies.
Right.
TV shows, cartoons. That's all we've seen. We never got a glimpse of how the world was before Batman came into play.
Right, and we've seen...
And that's what I'm really excited... And that's what kind of excites me, to be honest.
We've seen the death of Bruce Wayne's parents done. It's been done in the movies. It's been done in the cartoons. And, of course, it's been done in the comic books. It's made legendary by Frank Miller's story, with the pearls dropping and everything.
Yes.
But that's as far as it's always gone. It's always them leaving the movie theater, walking down the street, the mugger comes, boom, they get shot. And then fast forward
a couple years later.
Exactly. Right. Cut to present day, and let's see how this affected him. There definitely is the potential here for a lot of good stories to be told about what happens to this boy, this traumatic experience, and how it affects him. And also, I think that it can bring some of these secondary characters more into the limelight and make them more interesting. Commissioner Gordon is certainly a main character in the Batman universe, but there's definitely a lot that they can tell us about him that we don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm very excited. We get to see the backstories of a lot of these characters and how they came to be.
You cut out there for a second. The backstories of...
Oh, I'm sorry. We get to see the backstories of these characters, and see how they became to be.
Right. So now specifically on the show, so it starts off, it pulls you right in, right? It starts with Catwoman as a girl, and the older I get, the harder it gets for me to tell age. I mean, this could have been a woman to me, but the more I'm looking at her, I'm thinking, well, yeah.
No, I think it was she's around his age, so I'm guessing around, I think they said she's a little bit older than him.
Right.
So I'm going around with 14, 15, I think.
That's what I'm thinking. I was saying I could see this girl being 15, maybe 14.
Yeah.
And so do you know definitively what age Bruce Wayne is supposed to be at this point? I was thinking he was about 12.
Yeah, I'm guessing around 12.
Yeah. All right, so the show starts just real strong. I mean, they did a smart thing. They know that getting people on board with a new show is difficult, even when you've got a built-in audience. So they started with a really strong scene where they've got Catwoman as a child, and she goes and ends up in Crime Alley, where Bruce Wayne and his parents are there, and the Mugger shows up. And I know people are going to be griping about a few of these things. Number one, Catwoman being there. She's not. It's never been said that she was there before.
Or she watched or witnessed the crime happen.
Right. Which I think this is the catalyst for this story. How these people are tied together, how their lives.
Well, I think that's the whole entire point. Obviously, the show is how all these characters intertwine and how they come across each other in the storylines without even knowing it.
Right. That sets it up for what we know, the universe we know, and how there were these connections long before then. And of course, the other change being the guy who mugged them and killed them is masked now. It's a masked person, so we don't really know whose identity is, and that's a pretty big change.
Well, I think that's a really good thing because now we have a president trying to figure out who was it. Right.
There's this mystery. Right. There's this ongoing theme that's going to be, I assume, throughout the show.
Yes.
So I think they started off really strong with that scene. It pulled me right in. I was happy with the writing. I've said it before. I tell you all the time. I want my superheroes fun, and I want it to have more of that kind of comic book feel from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I understand why they're not going to do that with this type of show. I've always got the 66 Batman if I want to see that. That said, I think that this was written really well. It was written for an adult audience, and they even
of course.
They even showed you right at the beginning, right? It was TV 14.
Yeah.
So it was. I think it was well written. I think that the character, the way it seems like the way they're gonna develop these characters is gonna be really interesting. What did you think of casting?
Oh, I feel honestly they casted everyone perfectly.
Yeah.
Except for, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of her, Jada Pinkett Smith's character or how she acts.
Is this Fish?
Yeah.
Is this a real character from the comic?
Oh, real character from the comic?
Yeah.
I want to say no.
Yeah, because I've never heard of this character. I mean, it's not to say that she doesn't exist in the comics world, but I've never heard of her. I understand the need for this kind of top-level villain.
Like a crime lord.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I thought she was good. I didn't have any expectations because I didn't know who the character was.
Yeah, that's true.
But as far as the other characters, did you have any that were maybe your favorite?
Oh, easily. Penguin.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
He's honestly my favorite character out of the whole entire show so far.
Yeah, I agree. I think that for me, I think the casting was really good. I would say Catwoman was probably my least favorite because...
Well, we barely saw her, to be honest.
This is true, and I'm judging just on what I saw.
Yeah, I don't even think she even spoke a line, I think, from the first episode. So
No, and I'm not saying she was terrible, but when I'm looking at everything, I agree with you. Penguin was really strong, and I was going crazy trying to figure out if this guy was wearing makeup nose because it would have just been too odd to find such a good actor who actually had this kind of penguin-like nose.
Yeah.
I figured it must have been...
Yeah, they nailed the look pretty well, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, his nose kind of sloped down, and it hung a little low, and it had the feel of a beak. So I didn't... I was convincing myself that it had to be makeup because it would have been too odd to find somebody who actually had that look about him.
And it was actually surprised they actually made Penguin skinny,
Yeah. Well, I mean... He's supposed to be younger, number one, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And
so he probably does get a little bit chubbier down the road, I guess.
Yeah, and I think with everything else, I think the fact that he did represent the character well, he was a good actor, and he did facially he had a look about him. So I can kind of forgive that. I think that they can make him get as he gets older, he can get heavier.
Go on.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say my next one was Harvey Bullock.
Okay.
Phenomenal choice. I really like that actor a lot.
Yeah.
He's a very underrated actor, and I think he nailed that part really well in that first episode.
Again, this is a character I'm not too familiar with in the comic books. I do know of him, so I didn't have too much in the way of expectations. But as far as he was in the show, I thought, yeah, I agree. He was really good. He's setting up this kind of opposite force for Jim Gordon, to be working with. I think that.
Well, yeah. Well, you ever seen the Batman animated series?
I have. Oh, he's in.
Yeah, he's the guy. The big heavy guy with the gray coat.
Yeah,
that's him. That's the guy he's playing.
So, is the character in the comic books as kind of corrupt as he is on the TV show? Because I don't remember him being that corrupt in the animated series.
Well, like I said, you forget the animated series takes place when Batman already comes to being.
Right.
By that time, he's already with I guess with the program and on Jim Gordon's side.
Oh, that's interesting. All right, so that's interesting. So we're starting off where he's trying to pull Jim Gordon into this kind of dark side, and you're saying in the comic universe it goes the other way.
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting. I didn't realize.
So that's probably what's going to happen, because obviously this is when they're first meeting, and this is when they're first, Jim Gordon first joins the police force.
Right.
And obviously, probably we're going to see that storyline developed, that he turns, I guess, more good.
Okay.
And he's on Jim Gordon's side.
Right.
Because I feel he's not a bad guy. He just knows that Gotham is a really corrupt place, and you just have to play by the game, or you die. Obviously, like in the episode, he almost died.
I think he was
trying to be a good cop, almost got them killed.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess if you're living in that world, it's easier to understand. But I read him more as he really was walking the line, and he was definitely favoring the dark side, the corrupt side more. It seemed like he was ready to kill Jim if he had to. He was going to do, whatever he had to survive.
Yeah, exactly. He just has to survive. It doesn't mean, he's really a corrupt person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you're a little bit more sympathetic towards him than I am. Just from that, based on that one episode, I see them writing him. He's going to keep going in that direction.
Oh yeah, of course. I think that's the beauty of their relationship.
Yeah. Now, my second favorite character would definitely have to be, and he only had a small part, but Riddler.
Oh yes, yes. I know I know a lot of people didn't catch it, but
I mean, that guy was like really, really kind of eccentric and quirky, and again, people are going to complain because why is he, in the police force? Why is he part of Gotham Police? But you got to come up with some interesting ways to connect these characters so that you don't have all these kind of disjointed stories. Nobody's going to care if we're telling a Riddler story and he's just some thug who's out there on his own. It's more interesting to kind of have these connections.
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot of potential there. He's right up there for me with Penguin. I think that those two were just really, really interesting, and I think that they're going to keep the show interesting. I would say my third is probably Gordon. I thought that he's a main character obviously in this story, and I thought that the casting was really good. He's a good point.
Oh yeah, they picked a really good Jim Gordon.
Yeah, I mean he's a good point of reference for the viewers to kind of see it through his eyes and understand what he's feeling.
Do you remember that scene with his wife and the other girl?
Jim Gordon's girlfriend.
Barbara Gordon?
Yeah, it's his girlfriend at this point, I think.
Oh, they're not married yet?
I don't think so.
Or engaged or something at least?
Maybe engaged, yeah.
But, yeah, remember that confrontation he had with the other woman from the police force that came over to her house?
Yeah, she was basically telling her to stay away from him.
Yeah. Because it's funny, because I watched it with my girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I got a kind of a vibe that they used to be love interests, them two.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Was that only me? Because I read it online too. A lot of people caught like a little feeling they used to be love interests, the way they were speaking to each other.
I got to be honest with you. I watched the show in 2 sessions, which is typical of my life these days. I started dozing off around that time. I did see that scene, but I can't recall it that clearly. So I can't say whether they did that or not. I hope that they're not going to, I mean, that's just the old fart in me. I just hope that they're not going to start, introducing all these other kind of wacky elements. And there I go. Right now I'm playing devil's advocate on the other side there. But no, I didn't pick up on that. So obviously Batgirl or Barbara Gordon doesn't exist at this point because they're not married yet.
Yeah, but she's not born yet.
And in some worlds, I don't know if this is in all worlds, there is a brother, correct? Batgirl has a brother, I think.
I think there might be in some comic book versions, I think.
Yeah.
Like you said, like every comic book has its own stories and stuff, so it's hard to keep track of everything.
I know, too, in the Christian Bale Batman movie, there's a scene, and I assumed when I knew what was happening when they had Gordon's child,
oh, yes,
I thought it was going to be Batgirl, and then it turned out to be a boy.
Yes.
So they had it in there, so yeah.
Yes, I actually remember that. Actually, yeah, I actually didn't think about that when I was watching the movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different versions of these stories at this point in time. Yes,
that's why I'm all for everything being different in Gotham. Like, I mean, for me, it doesn't bother me that Riddler obviously works for the police force at one point. You know?
Well, you know what I think bothers people is that we went from a time, 10 or 15 years ago where it was kind of taboo to change anything, right? And
yeah, well, then again, human nature, everyone hates change anyway.
Right.
So,
but the thing with this is that it wasn't kind of like a slow change in the thought process. It wasn't like, hey, let's try making little changes. I think it started off innocently enough where people said, well, let's try changing something slightly. And then all of a sudden, again, that marketing thing kicks in where people said, wow, this is good. When you do something different, you get a lot more interest and controversy and stuff. And then all of a sudden it was just a free-for-all, just change things just for the hell of changing them.
Yeah. I
think that's where some people get irritated with these sort of changes because it's just too, it's almost too deliberate. It's not, you see, I'm not saying that about Gotham, but I do think that in a lot of cases that a lot of it's too deliberate.
Well, for me, it's funny because I'm always the opposite. I love change.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing new stories with my favorite characters because it just gets boring. Because you know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
If it's the exact same storyline every time rehashed.
Yeah.
Every time they come out with a new comic book or a new movie.
Well, for me, that's what...
It is boring because you know what's going to happen.
But for me, that was always what the Elseworlds were for. That's what the what-ifs were for. It takes a better writer, I think, to keep, obviously something that's been going on for decades. It takes a very good writer to keep things fresh. It can be done. I think they just, for controversy's sake and
well, don't get me wrong. I do agree with you that a lot of companies do it for the sake of that... that shock factor,
Yeah. So, overall, I was pleased with the show. I mean, I think it's got a lot of potential.
I was very happy with it.
And again, with this kind of gritty, real world feel, that's not something I want to see in my comics. But as far as doing it in the show, they did it well, and I think something that they really touched on, which a lot of people are going to relate to, is this level of corruption. I mean, I knew from the beginning that they were going to do corrupt Gotham and Jim Gordon.
Oh, yeah, of course, because that's like a big thing that's going on in our life right now.
Exactly. I mean, there's corruption in the world at all levels. You look at the government, you look at the police, you look at...
what's going on with Ferguson and all the cop stuff that's going on.
Yep, and even when you take it as far as, big business like Monsanto and stuff and politicians and all of that, I think people can really relate to this, and I think it's a smart thing for them to touch on because I think this is what people want to know is going on in the world. Unfortunately, and not to be the downer or the pessimist, but I think in the real world, typically Jim Gordon is killed in the first episode because
that's always always happens.
The level of corruption is just so high and just so powerful. Just like they showed in this show, there are so many levels to this that it is very difficult to combat. So I hope that they write it in such a way that it's not kind of hokey, that it's believable what the changes that he's trying to bring about and how he achieves it.
Well, that's the thing with media and movie and stuff. They always try to emulate what's going on
right
during the time period. That's why people get so drawn to it.
Right.
So I wasn't surprised that they're gonna emphasize a lot about corruption and
Yeah.
Like for example, Captain America 2.
Mm-hmm.
That whole entire movie, basically, I felt it was a good movie, but at the same time, it was like propaganda film for us, for the government spying on us too much, or the government having too much power.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean,
and I felt obviously that's been going on with us, with the whole entire government reading our emails stuff going on, and So I feel like it was really emulating what was going on during our time.
Yeah, and I think this is what makes, especially when you're dealing with pop culture, movies, TVs, music, I think this is where society or younger society starts to lose touch with older stuff because the messages get lost. They're not relevant anymore. So you're right. I mean, they definitely use that as part of their hook to get people involved. I wanted to say, what did you think of the presentation of Gotham as a city? Because this is not a real city, but all of us who are fans of the comic, we have these visions in our mind of what Gotham is and what it looks like and what it feels like. What was your reaction to what they presented as Gotham? And I'm talking about, the skyline, the texture, the colors, the buildings, just the streets and everything.
Honestly, I felt like they represented it really well. Gotham is just a dark, gritty place to begin with, with just crime and these colorful characters and this corruption. So it's not going to be rainbow-filled skies and colorful trees and squirrels and birds chirping.
Right, and I guess part of the when I'm asking that question, what I'm thinking of is when I think of the Chris Nolan Batman films. I know they were shot in Chicago, and they have a very distinct feel. To me, that never really felt like Gotham. I was born and raised in New York City, and Gotham obviously is a play on New York City the same way Metropolis is. They're kind of two sides of the same coin, where Metropolis is this shiny, wonderful place to live, and Gotham is this kind of rundown, corrupt city. So I thought what they showed in the Gotham series really had the feel of what I see Gotham to be. It actually had me looking twice at some parts because it really looked like New York parts of it, and I know it wasn't. I'm interested to know what city they're showing for the live shots. I believe that those did you notice those panning shots that they kept showing where they were just going past buildings? Yeah, I got a feeling that stuff's CGI. It looks good.
I wouldn't be expected a lot of it's CGI, and they're just bunkered in a studio. So
right, but I do think that some of it is shot on the streets. The opening scene with Catwoman, where she's around like a Chinatown and there's a bridge in the background. I mean, that was just so reminiscent of New York City when you get down by the Manhattan Bridge, and Chinatown's not far from there and stuff.
Well, even if CGI, a lot of these, technicians, artists, they have to have reference points,
right?
So they probably use New York City as a reference point to create the backdrop.
Right, and I think that's interesting because I wonder if that was consciously their goal. Was they saw it kind of the same way I see it, which to me is New York City. So I was really happy with that. I liked the way they represented Gotham City. Very big, and even Wayne Manor I thought looked very much like what you would imagine Wayne Manor to look like.
Oh, yes, and not to go off topic, but I know a lot of people are upset about Alfred's character.
Yeah, well, tell me why, because then I'll tell you why I'm a little upset with it.
Well, obviously Alfred's more of a badass in this continuity, and he doesn't have his, I guess everyone expect him to have a British accent, and he really has like an Australian accent.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if
those are two things I read online people were just complaining about.
And that's I don't mind him being a little bit more of a tough guy because now he's got to assume these parental responsibilities for this child. But I did pick up on the accent. I don't know if it was Australian or if it was just a lower class English accent. Which, so we've discussed the Beware the Batman series, right, where they have Alfred is a total badass, got a shaved head, and he's a former
ex-Marine.
Yeah, he's an undercover agent, kind of a James Bond type. So it was almost like they were, playing off of that too with the accent and stuff. Even again going back to Chris Nolan films, I can't think of his name playing Alfred.
Oh yeah,
that accent was all wrong for me. I mean, it's supposed.
Oh really? I actually like that accent for him.
Yeah, I mean there's different accents obviously in England, just like there are in the U.S.
Yeah.
And he has more of what he was presenting was more of kind of a lower class English accent. Whereas I think of Alfred more as Alfred from the 66 TV series or Alfred from the animated world, where he's a true butler, a very classy kind of guy, very refined.
That's how I like my Alfred, classy.
Yeah, and maybe in their minds, the two walk hand in hand. They're thinking, well, if this guy's going to be this kind of espionage type spy badass, then we need to kind of downgrade him a little. But look at James Bond. Although James Bond is supposed to be this kind of classy spy. I know he isn't always played that way just because of some of the actors that have played him, but you don't necessarily have to go that route. But I wonder if that was a conscious thing that they said, well, listen, if we're making him tough, we got to kind of bring him down a few pegs in the...
No, don't get me wrong. I like him. They're making him tough.
Yeah.
Even if they think they made like a classy butler, I don't think he would have fit well in the show.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion.
I was a little surprised at his age. I would have expected him to be a little bit younger. But
well, yeah, no, I think he's the right age because I think when Batman becomes Batman, he's a lot older. He already has white hair. Like he's really old already.
Yeah. So in the world of comic books, superheroes always exist in this kind of mid-20s to early 30s. They never really age beyond that point. Just based on this one episode, when do you see this kid becoming Batman? Is this a 10-year progression by the time he's like 22, 23? Is he going to be Batman full blown, or is he still kind of Batman in training?
I don't think he's ever going to be Batman during the series.
No, I agree.
I think like the last episode or the season finale is when he takes off to become Batman.
Right, when he goes away like they did in the movies for the training with Ra's al Ghul. That's another thing. I think
that's going to be the last episode.
I was watching Beware the Batman. I don't know if you know this. That series is back now.
Yeah.
And it's actually pretty good. How do you...
Oh, it's actually back?
Yeah, it's been...
Oh, wow.
I
thought they were trying to cancel it after like 9 episodes.
Well, they did for probably a year, and now all of a sudden it's back. I think what happened was they decided that they could not have an animated series during Batman's 75th birthday, so they went back and they retooled it slightly. The stories have gotten really good. They did a 3-parter, and that was my question with I've always pronounced it Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, I know a lot of people pronounce it. I pronounce it Ra al Ghul.
Well, on the animated series now they're pronouncing it completely different. They're saying like I can't even think of it off the top of my head. It's something like Raj, I think it is.
Raj al
Ghul. And
yeah, I know. Well, it's funny because like I said before, with the comic books, the way they interpret things, I guess even the names go hand in hand. How you interpret the names.
You know what? The names should be established. There's things that I read as a kid that I didn't know how to pronounce in the comic books.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
One thing, but
all of us growing up reading the comic books, that's how we interpreted as we were reading.
Yeah, but I would think that the creators know how to pronounce it. Is it Roz or is it Rosh?
Yeah.
They did a take on, now we're deviating a little bit, but on Beware the Batman, where now he's clearly looking Asian. Where on the old animated series, he was, I always pictured him more as maybe Middle Eastern or something.
Yeah, Middle Eastern, yes.
Right, and then they did that great trick in the Nolan films where he was the Asian guy and then he turned out to be Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you should watch it. It's definitely worth watching. They did a 3-parter, and those storylines are just picking up.
Oh yeah, I was very excited when they first came out with it, but then they just like out of nowhere just pulled the plug on it.
Right. They introduced Harvey Dent not as Two-Face but as the DA, and he is in no way friendly. He's very kind of against. He's against the whole Batman and the vigilante.
Yeah.
So they're doing some good stuff. It's definitely worth checking out.
I'm always, since you mentioned Harvey Dent,
yeah.
I wonder how they're going to introduce, or even if they're going to introduce Harvey Dent
in Gotham.
Into this. Yeah.
It's funny that you said that because I guess after seeing this episode of Where the Batman, I was thinking about Harvey Dent too, and I was thinking that if anything, they may just have him as a friend to Bruce Wayne, right? Because that's what they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be peers. They're supposed to be about the same age.
Well, the question is, do they know each other before?
Oh, right. Or do they meet when they're older?
Yeah, because they met when they were older, but that means do they know each other when they were children?
Yeah, like I said earlier about Riddler, if you have this character who is living a totally separate life, then I don't know that I want to introduce him into this storyline. I don't like these shows where they kind of start to split the stories and they have 2 or 3 distinct stories going, and it's almost like filler. You know what I mean? Like you're watching an hour-long show, but you feel like 1/3 of it is filler.
Walking Dead. Cough, cough.
Well, I think they start to. You know what I'm talking about? Where they distinct, not just filler, but a different storyline.
Yeah.
It's like when you're watching it, they cut to these characters and you're like, this is that nonsense story again.
Yeah, it's about a different character for like 30, 20 minutes.
Yeah, and I think that may happen because maybe when the show becomes successful, they bring other writers in. They say, okay, you're going to write this portion, you're going to write that portion. I really hope they don't do that with Gotham, because then I just feel like my time is being abused. It's like you want me to tune in, but now you're telling. It's very obvious that you're giving me 1/3 of the show that's not worthwhile. So if they're going to bring in a character like Harvey Dent, I hope that they keep him close to the story, that he's more of just a friend now in the present day to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, my question was, how would you think they would introduce him, though? Because he would be a kid, I would be assuming, right?
Yeah, I mean, this could just be somebody that he knows. The friends were the families were friends, and this was his friend. I mean, we all had friends growing up. This was his friend growing up, and
well, that'd be a really interesting thing, I guess, to have a friend for Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I mean, they could also use it as a good vehicle to express this change that's happening in Bruce, where he's obviously for revenge and fighting back and stuff, and they can show that this is a difference in these two kids right from the get-go. This isn't something that happened when they got older, because Harvey couldn't argue with him and say, well, you need to leave this to the police, they'll handle it, and the person will be brought to justice.
That's true. That's a good way to introduce. But then my question would be since Harvey Dent was friends with him as a child, wouldn't he just be able to put 2 and 2 together that he's the Batman when they're older?
Well, I mean, yeah. When you start talking like that, wouldn't you know a good friend of yours, even if they were wearing a mask, as long as you saw their mouth and their jawline?
No, but like if I had a friend that growing up always told me he wants to fight crime and he has bats flying around his mansion, and I see a masked bat guy running around, I would start to wonder, is that my friend?
Well, I don't think he needs to be.
Is that him?
I don't think he needs to be privy to all the secondary stuff, like the bats and stuff like that, but just Bruce's personality. I mean, certainly
Batman knows karate. My friend knows karate.
Well, he doesn't at this point, but he doesn't.
Well, I'm just saying,
we can all take public figures and look at them and say, hey, I've known you for a few years, and I know that you relate to this person because you have similar thoughts. It doesn't mean I think you are that person. I think that the whole thing that Bruce plays up is the Playboy thing to kind of distract from the fact that he's Batman.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to come into play with Gotham, because the child isn't going to be doing this. This is something I think he does consciously later on. Once he's Batman, he realizes he's got to keep his identity safe. Yeah. It is kind of interesting with Batman that he's so concerned with keeping his identity safe, because I guess he does have a family in the sense of Alfred and Dick and Barbara, right? But he doesn't have the traditional family, which is usually why the superhero will say, I need to protect my identity because I need to protect my family. Yeah. So overall, I was very happy with Gotham. I'm looking forward to it. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for saying that because they probably didn't give the show a chance. But, when I look at the shows that have come on TV in the last few years, when I look at Arrow, I look at S.H.I.E.L.D., and I look at Gotham.
Oh, my God. Everyone hates S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't think S.H.I.E.L.D.'s going to make it at all.
I think that Gotham started off the strongest.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
S.H.I.E.L.D. just started off awful.
I think that was a huge mistake. I think S.H.I.E.L.D. started off bad. I mean, I heard it got better.
It got better, but still not even to the level that Gotham's at on its first episode.
Yeah, I don't want to. For me, it's too late. That train has left the building. Yeah. I don't want to catch up just because it's good now. No. Yeah. It's okay.
So I think if you didn't give it a try, you should. I'm referring to Gotham here for anybody who didn't give it a shot because they said, this is stupid. We're taking all these characters and making them kids. It's not what you think. I mean, it's not. It doesn't have this whole thing we've complained about with other TV shows. There's not this teen angst element to it.
No, there's not. That's one thing I'm very excited about. There's not that teen werewolf Twilight theme going on.
Yeah, I mean, they're avoiding that because the primary character is Jim Gordon, who's an adult. He's younger than we know him in the normal universe, but he's an adult, and it's about him trying to fight back the corruption in this city. And it seems like just overwhelming odds. Like there's no way that he can beat this.
Yeah, I know. But it was one thing I do want to talk about. I don't know, you caught some other of the Easter eggs in the first episode?
There's one that I know of that I didn't personally catch. I think it's a bad call, but let me hear the ones you know
of. The comedian that was telling the jokes.
That's the one.
Yes.
Did you? Go ahead. Tell everybody what the Easter egg is in case they haven't heard.
Well, when I first saw the episode, the comedian telling the jokes, automatically thought maybe that's the Joker.
You did. See, I didn't think that, and that was just me being closed-minded. It never occurred to me.
And obviously after the episode ended, and then during the week, I was reading online to see maybe other people had noticed that too.
Yeah,
and a lot of people noticed that too, and they think maybe that guy's the Joker.
There definitely was talk online about him, whether or not he was the Joker. I guess it never occurred to me because he didn't. He wasn't an interesting character at all.
Yeah, no. Well, that's the thing. I think the directors or producer, I forgot somebody that has to do with the show.
Yeah.
They said that they're going to keep teasing about who's the Joker during the whole entire season or series or whatever.
Okay.
So, necessarily that guy wasn't the Joker specifically.
Right.
But they were just going to throw random characters in there to tease us like, oh, this guy might be the Joker.
Right.
That's what I think director, I forget who it was specifically, but somebody with the show. So necessarily that guy wasn't the Joker, but it was just there to tease us.
And to go back a second to Fish, you had said that you weren't really happy with her. I really liked her reaction when she had Gordon on the phone.
Oh yeah.
Right? Or no, it wasn't Gordon, it was his partner, Harvey. Yeah. And she's all, oh yeah, that's good, that's fine. And she says she wants to talk to the bodyguard of the guy, the goon that was there, and just the way she just, that to
transition.
Me was, I mean, that was very believable. It was very believable in the way this sort of character would behave. There's no BS here. I mean, if you're going to go against them, that's it, you're dead. I mean, and she,
end of story. Yeah,
there was no sitting on the fence there. They were very committed to that attitude, and I think that's where the corruption really reeked through in the show.
Well, that's what I was saying before. If you're a good cop in Gotham, you're just going to get killed the first day.
Right.
And obviously that's why Harvey plays the way he plays the game, because he doesn't want to die.
No, you're right. You're right. I mean,
and then look what happens to him. He finally tried to be the good cop, save Jim Gordon. He almost got iced himself.
Isn't that Gordon says to him, "Thanks for trying to help me," and he says, "I wish I didn't."
Yeah, exactly. There was that Easter egg with the Joker.
Yeah.
And then I missed this one, but I read online. There was the strippers at the Fish's club or bar. Mm-hmm. In the background, they were dressed up as Harley Quinns.
Oh, really? I didn't catch that. I'll have to watch that.
I didn't catch it either because it was in the background. Obviously, you're focused on the foreground of the scene. You're not really focused on the background. And I saw the little scene or whatever, and I'm like, oh wow, that was pretty cool. There's Harley Quinns in the background.
I got to check that out. Somebody we didn't mention was Poison Ivy.
Yes. Oh, yes. I know everyone was saying that little girl was Poison Ivy. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it was. She was one that I did feel was a little forced. Nothing with the girl playing the part.
How she was presented?
Yeah. It seemed almost like they were trying to squeeze too much in that first episode.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand they were trying to squeeze a lot because they wanted everyone to get excited about the show.
Exactly.
So I felt like the first episode they dropped a lot of, I guess, Easter eggs, a lot of hints on stuff.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see now as the show gets rolling how often we see these characters. I don't know that we'll see all of these villains in every episode.
Oh, no, because obviously, there's a lot of episodes they have to do. What was it, maybe 12, 14 in the season?
No, I see
Or more?
you're showing your age. I mean, when I was growing up, a season of TV shows used to be.
Oh, it's like 20. Yes, I know.
Yeah, well, it used to be like 30, but I noticed
Now
with
it's-
Arrow and Shield, they did 23 each last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
You've been bastardized by today's society with Walking Dead, right? 6 episodes in the first season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that was done as a test. They wanted to make sure it was going to work. But even so, the second season, I think it was only 13 episodes or so, and they've only peaked, I think, at 18.
Well, Walking Dead, it wasn't even supposed to be a show. To be honest.
Oh, it was supposed to be like a miniseries?
Yeah, it was supposed to be a miniseries. That's it. Those 6 episodes. End of story.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
But then obviously it became such a huge hit that like obviously they're gonna be like, oh, let's make it to a season thing.
Right.
But
So,
back to Gotham.
were there any other Easter eggs that you heard of in Gotham?
I think we nailed most of them. I
Yeah.
think. Like, the Riddler, Poison Ivy. Obviously, some of them were obvious. The Joker.
The guy in the opening scene in the police department that Jim Gordon disarms. I don't.
Yes.
Think did you hear anything about this guy being somebody? I don't think he was.
Honestly, in my honest, strong opinion, I don't think he was anybody.
Yeah.
But I feel people are just speculating way too much now.
Yeah.
They're just picking at every little thing.
I didn't read anything about that, but I could imagine, were they saying
Yeah,
he
there
was
were
Bane or something?
Yeah, people were saying he was Bane, or I forget the serial killer in Batman. I forget the guy's name.
I'm not sure.
He was in I saw him in the Batman video games. I forget who he was. I forgot the guy's name. But anyway, people said he was supposed to be Killer Croc.
Yeah.
So I feel like that there's reading it way too much into it.
Yeah.
I think he was just a guy.
Yeah, I didn't read him any other way until, just when we were talking about the Easter eggs, I'm thinking, well, that was a pretty important scene. But I think that scene was intended, I think that the creativity is going to get destroyed when you try to force too much of this stuff. I think that scene was written just for the sake of showing us what Gordon's made of, and that know he is kind of going in his own direction. He's walking to his own beat, and I think that scene did it well.
Yeah, I just think people were speculating way too much. And I think another person I read online, one of the reviews said when Harvey told Jim Gordon to stay frosty.
Yeah.
People were saying, "Oh, that's a nod to Mr. Freeze," but I'm like, that's a military thing, Like Jim Gordon was in the military. Like they say that to each other all the time. So I don't think that was referencing Mr. Freeze. I think the people are just getting a little out of hand now with these references or just Easter eggs.
Yeah, I think they gave us plenty in this first episode, to kind of look forward to. I think that it was written well, and I don't think that we need to pull more out of this than we should. I mean, they could have been less with the. I guess you're right with the Poison Ivy. Yeah,
it was a little forced.
Yeah. That's the only one for me. I mean, it wasn't terrible, but that was the only one that seemed a little contrived. I think they wanted to work that character in. And maybe I would imagine that Horror and Bruce are going to have some sort of interaction going forward because they seem to be about the same age.
Oh, yeah. I think they might, run into each other.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I still a big maybe because I wouldn't know how would they run into each other.
Well, if they don't, how often are you going to be able to have this girl on the show then?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, then again, maybe it was just, that's one time thing.
You think so? I mean, they did feature her in the trailer.
Yeah, but like I said, how else they were write her in?
Yeah,
unless Bruce Wayne and her bump into each other on the street.
I do think, and this is just me surmising. I have nothing to base this on, but I do think that what we're going to see is Bruce Wayne. The way he was standing up on the roof of Wayne Manor. He's going to be going out there, and maybe he's going to be going into Gotham, and Alfred's going to have trouble keeping a handle on this kid.
Do you think Bruce Wayne would actually go into Gotham?
Yeah.
And try to stop crime as a little boy?
No, I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to.
He would make an attempt, at least.
Maybe down the road. I think initially what I'm talking about is I think he's going to go into Gotham and just kind of see what things are about. He wants to see it with his own eyes. I don't know. I mean, that could be interesting, right? This kid trying to stop crime.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to put on a mask or anything.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, I mean, that could be an interesting aspect. I hadn't considered that. I think they might
you said
he
ventured into into Gotham, and obviously he's gonna, since Gotham's so corrupt, he is gonna witness someone getting mugged or mobbed or something, walking down the streets at least.
I do think that
or even that's how maybe. I just thought about this. Maybe that's how he meets Catwoman.
Well, I think she's going to be in the background. She's obviously following him around, right? Because they have the shot where she's kind of near Wayne Manor.
Well, I'm saying that because you know how Catwoman steals stuff. Again, the first opening scene, she was stealing people's stuff, right?
Right.
Do you think maybe that's how they meet? Like he ventures into Gotham and he sees her stealing, and he chases her down, and that's how they meet?
I mean, it's certainly possible, but I think that's more likely with Poison Ivy, because I think that with Catwoman, she's got this kind of morbid fascination with what's happened with him and his parents, and she's following him around. I don't think it's going to happen the other way around. I think that she's got this connection with the boy now. I think they're going to do it more that way. But it's possible. I mean, it's certainly possible. I think with Poison Ivy, what I was getting at is Bruce is going to stray into the city and somehow cross paths with Poison Ivy. Whether it's, I think that he's just going to try to get a better understanding of Gotham City. You're probably right. I mean, at some point he's probably going to try to stop crime, but I think he's going to just be going into the city, trying to understand the underprivileged, trying to understand the criminals, trying to understand the police, trying to understand what's
going on.
Yeah, what makes the city tick? How could this have happened to my family? How can I think this is what's really going to bug him, is how can somebody as well-to-do as his family end up in this situation?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I've always thought about this. Why were Bruce Wayne's parents walking in the alley in a place called Crime Alley?
Well, I think he said they were trying to catch a taxi,
But still, I would not go anywhere near Crime Alley just to see a movie. If I get an invite for somebody, I think I would not. I would stay away from that place.
Yeah,
because of the name.
I mean, as a native New Yorker, I've always condemned Thomas Wayne for this in everything, whether it was the movie, the cartoon, whatever. I'm always like, what a schmuck. I mean, why? With everything you've got, you could have had a private car waiting for you right outside the theater. Why would you walk down this alley?
Thank you. And you have a pearl necklace on. The same thing of me walking around an iPhone at 3-4 in the morning in the worst part of New York. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna get mobbed for me.
And it's funny because, I play both sides of this, but you don't want to see things changed. But this is probably an element that they could have changed at least a little bit. Come up with some reason why they ended up there. How did this happen? How could this really happen to them? Because it was a little crazy just to think, all your money and all your power and all your sensibility, and boom, you do a stupid thing like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's one thing I always wondered about Batman's family, his dad and mom. Why did you have to walk down that dark alleyway,
His father was a risk taker, man.
I can understand if they were normal folks.
Yeah,
but
certainly, yeah.
Because sometimes you're like, oh, I'm a poor person. No one's going to rob me because I have nothing to have on me,
Right.
It's a different story when you have walking around with a pearl necklace and a nice tuxedo on,
Yeah, and you kind of expect that Alfred would have been there, right? I mean, he was the chauffeur, too. Like, he wasn't just the butler. I mean, he would have been driving them.
Or not even that. This tough guy, ex-Marine guy. I think I would have had him by my side all the time, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Or a bodyguard. Yeah. Or something. Or a police escort, you know what I'm saying?
But that would have changed everything, right? Because we'd have no Batman then.
Oh, Bruce Wayne's parents.
All right, so we got
naive.
We got like 48 minutes on this. You wanna cut it now?
If you want, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, because I think it's good length.
Okay.
All right, so
I guess we wrap it up. I guess.
Yeah.
My bad.
We've been talking about the premiere episode of Gotham, and I think we're in agreement that we're both pretty happy with it.
I'm ecstatic. Can't wait for next season. Next episode.
And I know that you're not a big TV watcher, but so you're planning on watching this throughout the season now?
Yes, I'm definitely making a alarm clock reminder on my phone to make sure I watch it on Mondays.
You're gonna have to do something because it's gonna conflict with your football every Monday night.
Yeah, I know. That's one thing I was really upset about. That I'm gonna miss my Monday night games, but it's not too bad. I missed maybe the first quarter after it, so
it's not
too crazy.
You must have on demand, right?
Yeah, I have on demand.
All right,
yes.
so you can watch it the next day.
Yeah, but that's the thing. If you miss it on the first day, I can't go on the internet. I can't do anything.
All right.
You know how people spoil stuff, and
it's a timely thing. I got you.
Yeah, I hate doing that. That's why I have to watch it when I watch it, because people are jerks. They just like type in their status online. Oh my God, you see this on the show or whatever? Like 5 minutes later, it happened. I'm like, oh, I didn't watch it yet. Thanks.
But you're gonna see the score of the game.
Oh yes, I have to keep this.
They lost.
Fantasy football.
They lost. Well, you're going to have to make a choice. Is it your football or is it your comic books?
Yeah, I know. It's tough. Well, I guess if it's a good, important game, like a Steeler game, I'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
But if it's just some random game, I guess, Gotham.
Yeah.
You know?
So our overall recommendation is to watch Gotham. If you avoided the first episode because you were offended by the concept, you should watch it. It seems to
give it a chance. Give it a chance.
Yeah, definitely give it a chance. It's off to a good start. Who knows where it's going to go, but definitely give it a chance. For the Popcast, I am John Croce. Please check out ActionFigureKing.com, and this is my co-host
Esteban. I am Esteban TV on Instagram. Check it out. I do a lot of cool stuff. So
check out all those toy photos.
Yes, all the nice pickups I do during the week.
We'll be back real soon with another episode of the Popcast. Take care.
Adios.